Insights of All Trades podcast.
But I pretty much designed my car as like a home shelter type thing. So I was homeless basically for 2 weeks, and I just traveled around. Went to California, up in Nevada, and Arizona, New Mexico. Just traveled around over in the West a little bit.
And so are you living out of your car or are you getting hotels along the way? Or
I
how's that?
got I got a hotel once just because I was in LA at the time and I slept in a Walmart the night before. And apparently you're not allowed to sleep in Walmarts in LA because I got a ticket on my car.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like it didn't say, oh, you have to pay this much. It was just telling me if I parked here again and slept overnight, they'd tow my car. It's like, well, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So I got a hotel for the night, and I needed a shower anyway. So
But the whole rest of that time you're just living out of your car?
I was living out of my car. I bought a futon mattress at a thrift store and put it in the back of my car. Folded down the one seat and put it in the back of my car. And I had a little portable grill type thing with the smaller propane tanks and just cooking out of that. Had my clothes in a little container and had my gym bag, and I showered at gyms. So every now and again, obviously I didn't want to be paying, 12, $20 every day to be going to the gym, so I just did it every now and again to the gyms and showered there while I was already, using the facility. So I
Yeah,
figured we might
that's
as
a good idea.
well.
Could you walk us through that trip? So, where do you go first on that 2.5 week road trip that you did in your car?
Um, a lot of it was pretty much me driving a lot. But the first place I stopped, I was driving pretty much all day from Edwards, and the first place I stopped was um, what was it? It wasn't Bryce Canyon. It was Bryce Canyon. Bryce Canyon. I stopped there.
Where's Bryce Canyon at?
It's northwest Arizona, like right at the top of Arizona. And it was like about an hour off the highway. So I was like, I've been driving for a long time. I'm getting sick of just seeing roads. I'm going to go find something to do. So I went to Bryce Canyon. I was there for a couple hours, drove around, hiked a little bit. It's a beautiful view. And I tried going to the Grand Canyon, but since it was still, fairly winter, I guess, over there, winter, but there was snow on the roads, so I couldn't get into the canyon.
It's crazy. I always picture Arizona as like a super hot place.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have snow.
I'll go back out with you sometime, dude.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the Grand Canyon, hike around in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like that, man. It's amazing. There's
So
so
then,
many things.
Where do you go after that, after you couldn't get into the Grand Canyon?
After that, I actually went and ate at a little mom and pop shop, which was so good. I got like a pulled pork sandwich and some fries for like $8.
Do you remember the name of it?
No, I don't. It was just a small store.
Yeah.
But those are usually the best that you don't think about, like the people that, like the small places that people don't go to, like the little shanty towns. They usually have the best food and the nicest people.
Yeah, going off on a bunny trail just because it sticks out to me so vividly. One of my favorite parts about our main trip was when we went to a little local lobster shack, and the people that owned the lobster shack, they're super nice and introducing themselves just when we walked in the door. And after we ordered lobster, they got us up from our seats and they're like, "Come on, come check out like the lobster situation." And they had like Caleb and I pick out our lobster, and we'd watch them cook the lobster, hanging out by the grill with them. I think being able to like really meet people like that, as opposed to going to say a chain restaurant or
Yeah.
some big fancy restaurant. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you can get to know the local people and have cool experiences like that, I feel like they stick out the most.
Yeah, because you're gonna remember that. I don't know if you're gonna remember going to an Olive Garden.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Oh, these breadsticks are amazing.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
But they're the
Like,
same everywhere across.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the beauty about traveling. It's just the locals and the people that you meet, and they're just all usually very nice people. Like they're the type of people that would let you sleep in their house if you asked.
What kind of people did you meet while you were doing these jobs? Like people like that, or did you run into some, I don't know.
Shady
Yeah.
individuals.
LA has a lot of homeless population, so that was pretty much the only place I was like, okay, something could happen to me if I stay here. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm sleeping out of my car, like somebody could break in and whatnot. But that was the only place that I was really weary about that, because everywhere else, everyone was extremely nice and very kind-hearted.
Nice. So they didn't look at you as like this foreigner guy, well, not foreigner, but you know, like this Pennsylvania guy that's trying to make it out here on the West Coast. Like, they weren't trying to push you away or anything like that.
No, because pretty much that's how it is everywhere out there in LA, and they've all been in my shoes, and they know what it's like to be, I mean, obviously not everyone, but some of the people out there, they're like, yeah, I was homeless, but then I got, I did this, did that, and got a place. And so they had sympathy for me, but it was just amazing.
Yeah. So when did you get to LA? Was that after you got, blocked at the Grand Canyon because of the snow? Did you shoot right over to LA, or did you go somewhere else in between?
No, I went to Death Valley actually, but I was super disappointed that the Grand Canyon wasn't open, because that was the whole reason why I got off, was to go to the Grand Canyon. So I was like heartbroken. But then I turned around and I actually got lost there, and that's when I found the mom and pop shop that I went to.
By the Grand Canyon?
Yeah, and
okay.
I asked them for directions, and she was going over like, here, drawing out me this huge map, and I'm just like, okay, thanks. And eventually I found my way back to the highway, and after that I went to Death Valley National Park, and it was extremely hot. It was 103 degrees, I remember, at 9 o'clock in the morning that morning.
So you go from snow to 103 degrees all in like a couple of days.
Yeah, it was weird how the climate changed so sporadically. But I guess just because I was, on the road all the time.
Yeah.
But it was probably one of my favorite stops, just because it was different. Like, there was literally nothing. It was desert for hours and hours. And I was just driving around the desert just looking at these mountains and stuff. It was crazy. And at one part, the speed limit was like 45, and I was like passing people going like 80.
Future cop, everybody.
Yeah.
No one's hating on the Prius now.
Yeah, that's right.
Flying on the roads.
Learn from my mistakes. But, yeah.
And then you went from there to LA from Death Valley?
Yeah, I went from Death Valley. It was getting pretty late. I was there pretty much all day in Death Valley, and I drove, and I was like, okay, I just need to get to LA. Like, I'm tired of driving already.
Yeah.
And so I drove straight to LA, and I hung out at the beach there a little bit. And then the next day, I went to Muscle Beach and then Gold's in Venice, and just was talking to the locals and just trying to find out what it was like to live in LA, in the big city, and Hollywood. I went to the Hollywood sign as well, which was on my bucket list.
So where did you go then after LA? Did you come back home?
After LA, I kind of did like a loop, because I came back to LA, but I went to the Redwood Forest way up in Northern California, and that was a hike.
Yeah.
Because California is a big state.
Then you had to drive the whole way back to Pennsylvania.
Right. Yeah.
By yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Redwood Forest was probably my favorite non-city place.
Okay.
Just because there's literally no one there. You're on your own. I did run into this one couple that were from D.C., small world, but they had 2 kids and 1 kid on the way, and they said, hey, let's just travel the country and do things that we've never done before. And they had these crazy like backpack harness type things that they put their kids in.
Oh, those little leash
And
things?
It
or
looked
no?
like The Emperor's New Groove. Have you ever watched that movie?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Where Gronk's carrying the woman on her back. It looked exactly like that.
I was picturing like those where there's like a leash attached to a backpack and they're like walking their kid.
No, it's on your back, but that's funny.
I'm just taking my kid for a walk.
I was looking at these guys like they were crazy, because they have 2 kids and she's pregnant with another, and here they're going on a 3-4 mile hike down into the forest just to see some big trees. I'm like, these guys, they're crazy.
And then they're looking at you and they're like, this guy is living out of his car.
Yeah, pretty
He's
much.
jacked.
Yeah.
Were they in a schoolie or something?
No, they were just in like a SUV type car.
Whoa.
They had the thing packed full. I remember talking to him, and he was there putting on hiking boots and stuff, and he opened up his thing, and like the entire trunk was just full of boxes and like different shelving unit type things. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then you head back, loop down to LA. Was that the end of kind of hanging out west?
No.
Where do you go after that?
After that, I went back to LA because I wanted to. Well, actually, before that, I found a kind of segregated type coastal beach. And it was just like a pull-off section where there weren't a lot of people. And it was just beautiful. That was probably my favorite beach type scene, just because it was a beautiful beach without any tourists.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't like tourists, but I am a tourist.
Yeah.
So
The tourist
weird.
dilemma.
Yeah.
Tourist paradox.
Yeah. It's crazy. But no, I think I went to Yosemite before I went back to LA. I drove to Yosemite National
Oh yeah, I
Park.
forgot about that.
But I didn't do any hiking that day. I should have, but I was just like, I just want to be done driving, basically, is what my mentality was. But Yosemite was beautiful, but then again, the only bad thing is there was busloads of tourists, like busload after busload after busload of just tourists coming from different countries everywhere.
Yeah, you probably have to hike pretty deep into Yosemite to get away from everyone.
Yeah, and that's the beauty about it, is just the mountains, and if you hike up, high enough, there's nobody there, and that's just it's just you and the view, and that's beautiful. But after Yosemite, I drove back to LA because I missed just the LA aspect of life. I was like, I gotta visit LA at least once more before I head back home. And by then, after Yosemite in LA, I drove down through Arizona, New Mexico. I went to Phoenix, Tucson. There's a place in Arizona called White Sands, and it's beautiful. It's like the desert, but the sand is it's like gypsum. It's a mineral. So it's not hot like sand is hot. So you can walk bare feet. There, people actually go sledding in the like down the hills and stuff.
Did you do that?
No, I didn't go. I watched them do it, and it looked pretty fun. But no, I didn't do it.